What is going on, everybody? My name is Andy Christopher, and welcome to our next installment of the D.I.L.F show. Today, we're going to talk about some, hard-hitting topics that pertain to kind of the first steps, and I would say the first year of being a dad, and kind of address something that I think is important to know going into it in terms of expectations and whatnot. But, dude, being a dad is such a trip. Kind of putting this whole thing together. If these ever get posted, you would see last week I was in an office and it sounded a little bit echoey. So as you can see today, while little man is sleeping, you're never off the clock. Um, I have pivoted into our closet just because I think it's catching the sound a little bit better. So hopefully things sound a little bit better this time around. But dude, it's such a crazy. I think that half of being a dad is just adapting. It's just figuring out what needs to be done, messing it up 500 times, and then just figuring out the next way to do it. So hopefully this one works and is a good way to at least deliver the audio here. But what I really wanted to talk to you about today was the kind of the fallacy that there's nothing to do in the first year of being a dad. And I've heard some friends and I've seen on some groups, people talking about this, like, what do you do in your first year as a dad? You just kind of, watch the mom, nurse, and you kind of clean some things up. And I feel like there's, not a lot for me to do. Didn't really feel like I became a father until year 2, year 3, year 4, when the child was a little bit more interactive and I could play in roughhouse and this and that. And I think that single-handedly, this is something that dads everywhere are just completely getting wrong. I think that there is so much to be thankful for and grateful for in that first year. And honestly, there's so much to do on in the background, the dirty work, the cleaning out the toilets, the things that people are never going to give you the credit for. As they say in sports, what doesn't show up in the stat sheet is that's becomes your day-to-day routine. And it just blows my mind when dads have told me that, yeah, I didn't do shit the first year. Oh my God. The first 12 months of Arlo's life were some of the most chaotic and hectic of my entire life. And it's a very, very specific set of circumstances. So for those of you that don't know, Julia is, a physician. She's a doctor, and she carries a very demanding schedule at times. And so sometimes out of necessity, it just becomes, full burden, full Arlo time for me. It's me and him the whole every step of the way. And yeah, there's a lot of learning by doing, but I think going into a pregnancy, going into the birth with the mindset that you're not going to have anything to do is just plain bonkers. And what I'll also try to get to is that it's really just all about being present, like being in the moment, making eye contact, and just feeling everything that's happening as it's happening. And the way I liken it to is the advice that everyone gave us on our wedding day. Everyone told us, try to take a deep breath, try to slow things down because your wedding day goes so fast. It's just over in an instant. And you wish that you would have done things a little bit differently. You wish you would have had a couple more conversations or just really taken in the moments that were happening. And, you can talk about today's culture and how social media plays into everyone just trying to get that Instagram moment, and everyone's on their phones doing this and that, whatever. But we really took that advice on our wedding day to heart because everyone was saying the same exact thing about it. And going into, month 5, month 6, month 7, everyone kept telling us the same thing as well about when the child is born, which is the child is going to be 2 years old before you know it, 5 years old before you know it, 10, 12, 18 years old before you know it. But really that first 2 years is over in a blink. Really take that for every every stress, every ounce of pain, every tear shed. Take that in as much as you possibly can, because after that, the kid just is on their own and they're just doing their own thing. They're exploring and becoming their own person. And when you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again, it's got to be true to a certain degree. So many times, I've really tried to force myself to be present, to make sure that I'm not focusing on work. And this is another one of my bad beats. This is another learn by doing. Within the first 6 months, I horribly mismanaged how much time and how much effort I was devoting to work, and kind of neglecting some major responsibilities. I was helping keep things afloat, but I really, really look back and wish I would have done things a little bit differently, because you get it in your head, I'm working for the family, I'm doing X for the family, but what the family needs is you to be present. And we've spoken briefly in previous episodes in regards to, what if you can't physically be present? What if work is the only thing that you can do to survive, to sustain? I fully get that. I can completely sympathize with that, not fully empathize, but I know that at the end of the day, sacrifices need to be made in order to better your family or better your outlook, your future, your situation, whatever it might be. And I think what I'm getting at is, you can't just continue to crutch on not being around your family as you're continuously providing for them. And I have a few friends who, they work and work and work and work so much. And I've just felt personally that they have missed out on so many fundamental experiences that happen within that first year, that, I don't want to, speak in hyperbole or sound, holier than thou or anything, but it's almost irreparable after that point. So many bonds and so many events and little things and little moments and laughs and giggles and happiness and sadnesses are these forging experiences for the rest of that child's life and the rest of your life as well, that I really don't know if that can be repaired down the road, because at that point it kind of becomes chemical. It becomes this habit, this routine. When you walk in, when you bring the child back from the daycare or the nanny or where, whatever your care is, and they look at you and there's just that, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long, I'm so happy to see you. There's that feeling that I do believe is forged in the first 12 months. And one of the crazy stories that I went through personally was right at the time of birth, which was, I'll fill you in, but Julia was hospitalized for 17 days leading up to it because she had preeclampsia. And it's basically, enhanced heartbeat, like rapidly beating heart, swelling. And what ends up happening to the body is that there's so much pressure and there's so many different things going on that the baby becomes in jeopardy too. And that's the stupid ass version. Please talk to Julia in terms of what actual preeclampsia is, or freaking go on Google right now and look it up as I'm talking. But preeclampsia, it's settled in. She hit a heart rate that our OB was not comfortable with. So boom, straight to the hospital. So we really got the last 2+ weeks of our pregnancy, just kind of the rug got pulled out underneath, and we had to fully adapt. Like I was talking about at the beginning of this, we adapted to figure out what we needed to do. And I needed to button up some things with work, and Julia couldn't go to work. So I was literally just back and forth to the hospital every day, bringing in some fun meals. We were watching Friends at the hospital. We were just trying to make light of kind of a grubby, annoying situation. She freaking didn't even have like a window in her room. It was crazy at times, but that condition, it kind of force fed, okay, I got to get some things ready without Julia's help. I'm used to leaning on her, as I hope she leans on me as well. And now I'm trying to prepare all these things, take care of the dog, and do all these different things just kind of on my own, and something I wasn't necessarily ready or prepared for. So once again, you just learn by doing, trial by fire. You go, you figure out what needs to get done. Excuse me, just had a salad and burped. So then we're trying to do things naturally, and um, Julia gets the induction shot, and it doesn't take. Basically, as the inducing process is moving forward, baby's heart rate is dropping, which means baby might not survive the actual birthing, vaginally. So we can't believe I just said vaginally. Man, I'm getting old. So we go into, and we get prepared for a C-section, and it wasn't this ultra chaotic event. We were fortunate enough where we could kind of do it on our own terms, but Julia kind of had this feeling that there might be something up, like there might be a knot in the cord, there might be more reasons behind what we're doing. So process gets expedited even more. Now Arlo's coming 5 weeks early, and um, birth happens. It's beautiful. I'll tell you that when Arlo came out, he was like stark blue. I thought it was a little cotton candy blue alien baby. I was so terrified that something was wrong. And then, it's because everything has yet to get oxygenated. And Julia was so brave, and, an absolute warrior during this procedure. And then you've got this little thing that isn't making sound yet. You're waiting for that first sound, waiting for that first gasp. And then all of a sudden it comes, and there's just this electric moment between you, your significant other, and it's kind of like this crystallizing mayhem. I don't know how else to describe it because there's so much happening, but then there's just this absolutely beautiful moment of clarity where you understand now that your life has changed forever. And so, Arlo gets taken over to the little incubator thing to make sure all his vitals are good because he came 5 weeks early. And now Julia is starting to deteriorate quickly. And it was because of her condition. It kind of set in rapidly after the birth. And we did learn that there was a double knot in the cord. Maybe I'll post something over here that shows like the double knot in Arlo's what's it called? Birth cord? Is that the umbilical cord? Yeah, lost it there. Man, it's late. But you have the duality here. And now Arlo is improving. Julia is getting worse. And in that moment and over the next hour or two, it was this ultimate call to action. What do I need to do? What do I need to get done? How can I make sure that everyone's healthy, everyone's happy, everyone's feeling good? And at this point, Julia's just exhausted and flushed. And now she had to get put on a magnesium drip because of her condition. And a magnesium drip is just, from everything she described to me, it's like this extreme downer drug that makes you feel loopy and out of control and unable to do simple functions like even lift up your hand or smile or anything that is what you typically go through in a day. And at this point, Arlo is slightly underweight, and there's all this stuff and all this chaos and people coming into our room and trying to figure all this stuff out. So between the bottle feeding, between trying to hand express Julia to get milk out when Arlo is on the breast, to kind of keeping the clutter away and all the trash away, and fighting my own kind of sleeplessness, and then Arlo's pooping and it's black poop and you don't know what the hell is, what is this? I don't know what's going on here. There's all these things going on, and out of just having to get things done, I probably crammed about 6 months of dadding into that 24 hours. It was absolute insanity. And every fear I had of changing a diaper, of, being part of the nursing process, of holding the baby, just moving him from Julia to crib or the little bassinet thing that they give you, it all was just immediately alleviated because I had to. You had to do it. And if I hadn't have gone through that, I don't know what the next 6 months or the next year would have looked like, because you just dive in, and the more hands-on you are with this, the faster you get there. And there was no fear after that. It was just this shit's got to get done. So let's get it done. Let's change his diaper. Let's do this. Let's do that. And, then Arlo's blood sugar was dipping really low. And for his, initial birth, we had to hit this number 3 times in a row after, I don't know, maybe 12 hours there, whatever it was. It could have been longer. It all just bleeds together. But we had to hit this number 3 times within a 6-hour period. And Julia was struggling to, he didn't latch. His mouth was small. It just, things were stacked against us. So we're just kind of force feeding him this formula. And I'm like, we're going to go home after this. Like, there's no way, or we're going to get bumped up to the recovery suite, because there's no way we're staying down here. We need to get out of this situation. Julia's already been here for almost 3 weeks. We got to move on. And we're feeding him. And lo and behold, like, just by, he's like throwing up. Oh, it's just all this craziness, so many things in that initial 24 hours. And you've got nurses coming in saying, oh, we gotta give another prick in this foot. We got to test his blood sugar again. We got to do this, try and get some sleep. Oh, we'll be back in 10 minutes, but try and sleep as much as you can. It's so much madness in the delivery room. But we hit that number 3 times, like right on the nose, like boom, 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 the exact number that we needed to be above or at. And so just by doing that, just by forcing myself to be present and take charge in that moment, like, I learned so much just from having to do it. And I think where this can help other people is just get in there and fucking do it. Like, just be part of what is happening, be part of the miracle, be part of your growing family, this bond, this relationship. Don't shy away from the things that scare you, because everything's going to be scary to a degree. And if you just get in there and get over whatever fears you have just by doing it, I messed up, I can't even tell you how many diapers before, finally figuring out and finally getting a stride of how to do it right. And, then you kind of learn your jokes and, your ways. I often kind of joke with Julia that being a dad, you just kind of become a nonstop street performer, where you're just doing anything to get the laugh or to get the next coin in your hat or whatever. And from day to day that changes. But you put yourself in those situations to actually learn by experiencing it. Don't remove yourself. Don't just lean on the mother to handle this stuff because you assume it's their job. And, you kind of get trained like, oh yeah, mom's going to do this. Mom's going to breastfeed and, change diapers and this and that. But if we hadn't have, split things the way we did, I don't know, like, what my connection to little man would be today. I don't know if we would have that kind of immediate bond if I would have just completely tuned out that first 3 months, that first 6 months, that first 12 months, whatever it is, and used kind of crutches to justify why I'm still taking care of the family, but I'm not being present with my actual family. And, you may feel like when you have a really high stress job, or you have something that is constantly pulling at your attention, or something that really needs you to, be physically present, that you're letting that down. But the same thing goes for your family, guys. Like, they are, the most important thing. And, I really wish earlier on I would have taken this advice. I really wish that I could have stayed mentally present very, very early on, because, I do, to kind of toot my own horn, I do feel like I did better than most. I'll be perfectly honest, but you get into it and you see certain interactions and you're just like, damn, I don't, is that supposed to be me? Should I have been that kind of influence and that kind of figure at that point in time, at that point in their life? And, there always going to be days where, they prefer one parent over the other. And, there's no personal offense to that, but, walking into a room and being able to sit down and have Arla look at me and run to me and tackle me and just be so smiley and so giggly and so happy, I really attribute it to just being mentally and physically present during the first 12 months of his life. I mean, that's the that's the straightest way I can put it, is that you just have to be there. And, if your circumstances kind of carry away from it, that's understandable, as long as the communication is there and as long as everyone understands what their roles are. If you have family to help you out, that's one thing. We didn't have family to help us out, so we needed to be there. We needed to be present. We had COVID-19. We were dealing with 2020 and 2021 where we couldn't go out and do things. So yeah, we were in it, and it led to a lot of stress, a lot of frustration when you just have that much physical time and contact together. But that is the shit that I think forges us and will have forged us for the rest of our life. I mean, it's kind of insane to think about, but um, I, I see certain things on social media, and I see dads hitting the gym for, 3-4 hours a day, 4, 5, 6 times a week during the first 12 months of their kid being born. And I just think that's sad. To be perfectly honest, I think that is absolutely backwards. I think you can stay healthy without being away during such critical moments during, your child's first most important and impactful months and years. That, to me, it's just a case of priorities. Like, what are your priorities in terms of who are you trying to impress, and, what are you trying to accomplish? I know that one of the biggest turning points in my kind of physical well-being and my exercise well-being was when I realized that it's not necessarily about how I look, it's about how I feel. What I am putting into my body, which I still struggle with. I still eat like crap at times, and you go extended times where you eat like crap, but I recognize when things need to be changed, and it's just about how do I make myself as healthy as I possibly can be so that I can enjoy Arlo and Julia and any future children and any future family for as long as I possibly can. That's as healthy as I need to be. I don't need, I mean, look at me. I'm pretty bulked up. I've definitely got the swimmers vibe going on. No, I'm just a big dumpy dude who just, eats Buffalo Wild Wings and is trying to figure it out by getting on the Peloton. That's the best I can do, but that is the best I can do. And just getting cardiovascular exercise and making sure my heart is healthy as much as I can. Looking, Julia and I were just talking about this last week, looking to cut out, I eat too much red meat, looking to cut certain things out, because now it's not just about me. It's not just about what I want. And I love good food. I love, maybe we'll just do an entire episode on food and, the goods and bads, but consciously making that part of my sacrifice routine, not indulging after 8 p.m., something to make sure that the effort that I put in during that day or that week wasn't in vain from a health perspective, and that I'm giving myself the best opportunity to enjoy little man and any future siblings for my forever, which would be outliving them. And no, not outliving them outliving me. I'm not going to be like 200 years old. Them outliving me. And, when I'm 50, 60, 7 years old, still being able to bend down and pick up grandkids and play and throw the ball and, do all these things. That's my idea of health. That's my idea of fitness right now. It's, it's not about being in the gym for 3 hours a day and, at times potentially neglecting my family. I don't want to be that kind of dad. And I think that all boils back to the being present factor, the mental presence when you're in front of your children and in front of your significant other. And, that, yes, my body is physically here and I'm, I might be making certain sacrifices to be here, but mentally I'm here as well. And one of the biggest mental games that I see is that, dude, cell phones are so GD addicting that Arlo could basically handle a cell phone by the time he was 7 months, something like that. We're not just like putting him in front of it, but we use our phones, for work. We use our phones to, Julia has to message the residents. I have to message a client, whatever it might be. Our phones are with us. And like it or not, they're part of our lives and they're part of our children's lives forever. And at 6, 7, 8 months, Arlo not only could handle a phone, but when I was looking at my own phone and not paying attention to him or something, he would like hit it out of my hands and say, "Hey, bro, I'm here. What's going on? What's more important than me right now?" He's keeping me in check. He can't, he doesn't even know what thought is. And he is instinctually acting to keep me in check, to stay mentally and present in the moment with him. I think that is so beautiful and wonderful. It's so crazy to think about. And so, there are times, yes, we're still on our phones in front of him, but he has humbled me to really put into perspective, like, wow, I have to really, really savor these moments because, even though they may last the rest of my lifetime, who knows what that moment's going to be that you remember forever, or he remembers forever, or is his first memory or something like that. And so I think, to kind of wrap this whole thing up, dads out there, just be present. Be present with everyone in your life, whether it's at work, but especially with your family. Be there mentally, because people can tell. I can tell when people are talking right through me. They're face to face with me, but they are looking through me, or they're thinking about the next thing they want to say, or they're thinking about the next thing they have to get to. And so much connection happens just by being present and being in that moment with the person in front of you. You never know what might come of it, especially when you're with your children. It seems like every day there's a moment that I want to remember forever, and I try to write so much of it down to be able to reference and look back on and, smile about. But honestly, it's not these big milestones that I want to remember. I want to remember these little small moments, the looks over the shoulder, that where there's a little wry smile and a devious look, or, the first time he dunked the ball or threw the ball through the basketball hoop. I mean, that's kind of a milestone, but the first time he missed and, bent over and picked up the ball and tried again, and went forward and failed again. Those are the little things that you cannot remember if you're just not mentally and physically present every single step of the way. So I think that's what a lot of dads are getting wrong. I'm not saying that you're one of them necessarily, but I know that I wouldn't be, I honestly feel like, we're teed up for something special just because I was able to stay mentally in those moments and be part of all these little events without just being a sideline person or getting text a video about what was happening, or, coming home late from work and, missing a whole day of laughter and love and just, being together. So that is kind of what I think is, it's kind of a pervasive issue in terms of being a dad, especially being a dad in the modern age. And, it's something that you can use, you can not use, you can look to avoid, fuck it if I care, do what you want to do. But ultimately your dynamic is going to be yours. I just think that you build those bonds so much stronger if you're able to just be mentally and in turn physically present while you're with your family. So, aside from that, it was, I mentioned at the end of the last episode that we were having some issues with the doggo. Unfortunately, we did have to put him down. Very, very sad moment for our entire family. We think that Arlo's doing okay with it. He only used that first day to, call and check in on, like Jack. And, if you've ever had to put a pet down, you've ever lost a pet, you 100% have our empathy and our sympathy, because it was brutal. And it still is. It's a scar that, I'm glad that we have, and time, to be cliche, time will heal. But, as I mentioned last week, Jack did so much to prepare me to be a father that I would be remiss not to just, tell him wherever he's listening from, hopefully, surrounded by tennis balls and stray French fries, on in some grass somewhere, just rolling around. But like, thank you, Jack, for being just such a wonderful, wonderful little guy. And thank you for everything that you gave our family and everything you gave Arlo in the first, almost year and a half of his life. So love you, buddy. So if you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, if you disagree with what I just spoke about today, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. We can disagree and still be friends. Send me an email, send me a direct message. We've got at the D.I.L.F show on Instagram, the D.I.L.F show at gmail.com for emails, videos, whatever you want to send. I want to hear your lyrics, how you change the lyrics to songs. I'm going to be talking about that in coming episodes, about how you just kind of become this maestro and you get to bring out the inner rapper in yourself. But send any story or any thoughts my way. Always looking to improve, always looking to get people on the show. Going to start bringing guests on here in the coming weeks, and just shoot the shit and talk about, what you've seen as successes as a father, what you see as the pitfalls or potential failures, and how we can help everyone else out there. So that's all I got for you this week. And, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, just know that I love you and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Thank you so much for listening. Can't figure out how to freaking stop this thing.